It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
A fourth place finish, just as many medals as that glorious summer of 2012, and the second most successful overseas games ever, behind Rio just 5 years ago. We were promised a spectacular summer of sport, and Team GB delivered once again. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and this is Anything But Footy. We are the unashamedly biased Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast. Great Britain was, wait for it, undoubtedly big in Japan, having continued its success during the second week of the Games like no other, winning medals in more sports than table toppers China. We've still got the Paralympics to come, of course, but in this podcast we'll discuss what Team GB's outstanding achievement means for the future of British sport. That means funding, and what the athletes will do with the next Summer Games in Paris, just 3 years away.
After every Games, we have to say goodbye to some, but we mainly want to do in this podcast is say thanks. Thanks to the stars of Tokyo 2020 in 2021. We'll hear from gold medalists Hannah Mills and Ailey McIntyre, Galal Yafai, Kate French and Katie Archibald.
We'll also hear from athletics silver superstar Laura Muir and Britain's first men's 1500 metres medalist for more than 2 decades, Josh Kerr. And don't forget, you can get in touch anytime you like at Anything But F on Twitter. You can message us on Instagram or Facebook. Find us online at anythingbutfooty.com or drop us an email, anythingbutfooty@gmail.com.
And of course, we will be talking about the Paralympics over the weeks to come, and it'll be Tokyo time once again later on in the month. But first, a quite monumental, remarkable, thrilling, superb, however many superlatives I can dig up, 16 days of competition left Team GB with 65 medals, the same total as London 2012, but with 111 athletes winning medals, 22 golds, 21 silver, 22 bronze across 18 sports. It shows the strength in depth of the team following a worldwide pandemic and lockdown for much of last year, and all the challenges that has brought. IOC President Thomas Bach said at the closing ceremony to all the athletes, "You were faster, you went higher, you were stronger because we all stood together in solidarity." He could have been talking directly to Team GB and the world as well, for the naysayers who said this event shouldn't have happened.
And as ever, the Olympic Games provided us with stories. So many headlines, so many stories gripping us throughout the fortnight of sport. Was it for you, Charlotte Dujardin and Gio, dancing their way to 2 bronze medals in dressage and taking Charlotte's Olympic medal tally to 6? Was it Laura Kenny then storming away to silver and then a gold, her first one since becoming a mum in the team pursuit, and the first ever women's Madison on the track alongside Katie Archibald? Laura is now Britain's most decorated female Olympian ever, and quite rightly got to carry the flag at the closing ceremony. There were medals galore for Galal and his British boxing team, their best performance since 1920. And what a comeback and strong defence of the hockey team as the British women won bronze. It was, of course, a medal for them in their 3rd 3rd Games running.
And that was history in itself, Michael. I'll hold my hands up and said I really didn't think that was going to happen. I thought the men had a better chance than the women, but a 4-3 win over India for 3rd place, particularly after that thrashing from the Netherlands in the semis. Incredible from the whole team. So hockey ended up having a good games. British sailing, though, was simply superb. Hannah Mills and Ailey McIntyre took gold in the women's 470 in the final race of Tokyo 2020, making Mills the most successful female Olympic sailor in history, and McIntyre emulated her father Michael, who won gold at Seoul in 1988.
Hannah, I'll start with you. How are you reflecting on being the most successful female sailor in Olympic history?
Gosh, I haven't really reflected so much. I mean, we've had a mental few days. We yesterday spent all day in the heat loading containers, so I'm just like a little bit of a hangover. So that was pretty brutal, wasn't it? And then today we've been out and about at the Olympic Village and at Team GB House, and yeah, so there hasn't been much reflection time. I think that'll come, but just so relieved and overwhelmed that we achieved what we set out to achieve. It's amazing.
So, Ailey, they make you pack your own kit away even after you've won a gold medal. Is that true?
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? I was hoping I was going to be allowed to stay in bed. I think, unfortunately, when the team's so successful, you lose a lot of them. So they needed all hands on deck.
Did you have a decent party, though, the night afterwards?
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
We had an amazing party, didn't we? Yeah, it was cool. Because the British team, the sailing team, we're down in Hayama, who have actually been amazing hosts for us, and we've all been staying together, just the sailing team. So, you know, we could really let our hair down because we've been bubbled for over a month together, and yeah, we had a lot of karaoke, couple of cheeky drinks, and a lot of fun.
And Ailey, tell us a little bit about the challenges that you two have had to get here, because obviously normally you would have sailed on the waters at Enoshima a lot more than I guess you had the chance to. You've had issues with getting your equipment in and out of Europe as well. So that must make this achievement so much better.
Yeah, and I think it's been the most challenging year, but also one of the most enjoyable. We've had the most amazing group of people around us, not only the team, but also our training partners that came with us, and our coach, Joe, and Saskia Clark's hands-old crew came and coached us a bit. And it's just been this amazing environment, all bubbled together, and facing these challenges as a team and trying to overcome them and make the best of every situation.
And Hannah, how have you found the time then to do all of that, but then your other work as well with the big plastic pledge? Where do you get the hours?
I don't know. I keep thinking this, and I actually did about a month or so before the games. I had to draw a bit of a line under all of that stuff, other than obviously in the media talking about it, just actually actioning things. I just didn't have the mental scope or capacity, and I didn't want to end the games with regret, because I tried to do two things averagely. I wanted to give this everything. So yeah, it'd be nice to have the next few months to focus much more on the sustainability stuff and see where we can go with that.
And was the carrying of the flag a bit of a distraction, added pressure? Was it worth it though?
When they asked me, I was just like, there's no way I could turn it down. It's the biggest honour to have been even asked and thought about. So regardless of the fact, it definitely added pressure. It felt like it added pressure, and it was quite the experience. It was quite draining emotionally, but it just fueled me and made me want to give even more if that was possible.
We loved the fist bump. That was very 2020, 2021. Ailey, tell us a bit, obviously, about your story and your background and how this is now a second gold medal, which you're going to hang up in the landing at home. Is it now?
No, this one's definitely coming to my house. No, it's a phenomenal, really. I think I've dreamed of this moment my entire life. It sounds so corny, but it truly is. I've just always known that the Olympics is possible and this amazing feat, and something I've always wanted to try and emulate and achieve. I think I have dreamed a lot, but I never really truly believed that I could do it and do it at the first Olympics I went to.
What's Hannah like as a partner?
Hannah's wonderful. We've had created such an amazing friendship and a bond over this experience. And, you know, she's not just my teammate, she's really been sort of I'm trying to think of the right word. She's really looked after me and taught me how to become the sailor I am. And we've not just been friends, she's been sort of a mentor to me. And I'm forever grateful for her.
Just before we wrap up, Ailey, do you carry on? You've got another Olympics in 3 years. Do you fancy doing it all over again?
I have felt so alive during this experience, and so like I feel like exactly where I'm meant to be, that it's very tempting to carry on.
And Hannah, London, Rio, Tokyo, Paris.
Sounds like a song, doesn't it? I don't think so. No, I'm pretty content. You know, the Olympics is just such a special event, and I feel honoured to have been able to go to 3 Olympics, and now I feel passionate about sustainability, and so I think that's where my future lies.
It was great to catch up with Hannah and Ailey after winning their medal. We did manage a quick chat, actually, a couple of hours after it was all confirmed in the medal race. They were both a bit giddy, I'll be honest with you. So it was nice to sit down a day or so later. And obviously, we first met Hannah 5 years ago in Rio and have kept good contact, been in quite good contact with her, working on things like the big plastic pledge and other things. And it was interesting just to hear that word relief, I think, come out, because Hannah had a big fortnight. She had obviously been asked to carry the flag in the opening ceremony, and we've spoken about that before, alongside Mohamed Sabihi. And then obviously she had to go out and defend this title as well. A new partner in Ailey McIntyre, who in herself had her own pressures, because she grew up in a house where in the landing outside her bedroom was an Olympic gold medal from Seoul 1988. Every morning she would come out of her bedroom and she would see this. And the Olympics was something that she was desperate to do. And she really chased Hannah. When she knew that Saskia wasn't going to carry on, she really pursued Hannah and said, look, I really want to partner up with you. I really think you're the best person I can go with. They're obviously really close friends, and I think Hannah and Saskia were as well. And Saskia was helping them as well. She was doing some mentoring with them and some assistance and some coaching. So, yeah, huge team effort. And, you know, I was really pleased for Hannah and for Ailey to do that. And for Hannah, it's the end. I was
going to say, it's our first goodbye.
Yeah, she is. Well, I asked her in the interview and I said, you know, are you going to carry on? And I think she struggled, I think, initially to carry on after Rio. There were doubts there. But then Ailey, I think, relit the fire. And I think Hannah, well, she said that's it. And she wants to concentrate on her sustainability work with the big plastic pledge. She'll probably get a damehood and things that brings.
So Ailey now needs to find a new partner, or no, she doesn't.
A male partner.
Yes.
It's going to be a mixed event, the 470. And Hannah is all for that. I mean, I think a lot of people are saying, well, you know, they're getting rid of your category, your classification. And we're expecting her to say, yeah, that's terrible, that's outrageous. And no, she's all for more mixed events. And I think we saw some terrific mixed events in swimming, in athletics, and obviously in triathlon as well with the mixed relay. So yeah, it's going to be a mixed event, so she needs to go away and find a male partner. I mean, obviously you look at Luke Patience and Chris Grube, who were the sailors in the 470 class for the men, whether one of them will come forward or whether it's a completely new crew. There'll be some working out, some organisation to do for British sailing. And I said, when I talked about that giddy interview that we did a couple of hours after the medal, I said to Ailey, I said, do you think Hannah will insist on being called Dame Hannah? Or for those of us that have known her for a while, we'll still just be able to call her Hannah? And Hannah just put her head in her hands at that point. And they said to me that she's already had a T-shirt made up saying that she is the first Sea Lord. So, yeah, great result for them. And a great result, as you said, for British sailing, topping the Olympic sailing medal table. 3 golds, 1 silver, 1 bronze. We'll say goodbye to Giles Scott, who, of course, won that Finn class, another class that's being scrapped. So Giles Scott won that. You have to go back to 2000, Ian Percy, and then you had the Ben Ainsley years, then Giles Scott in 2016 and 2021. but the Finn class will disappear, and Giles Scott will target the America's Cup now. Dylan Fletcher and Stuart Bithell won in the 49er. There was a silver for John Gimson and Anna Burnett in the NACRA 17, and a bronze for Emma Wilson in the RSX, which we know as windsurfing, which again isn't going to be on the programme in Paris. They are changing the traditional windsurfing to foil, which is kind of like a hovering above the water.
It's like kite surfing, effectively.
Yeah, it's like a hoverboard above the waves a little bit. So yeah, there'll be a lot of changes to sailing, and that in itself will bring some challenges. But British sailing they've met them all before.
I was so pleased for Stuart Bithell. He won silver in London 2012, missed out on Rio, and came back to win a gold medal this time. And he's a guy from Rochdale. And I was like, how on earth does a guy from Rochdale become a British sailor? And he was like, yeah, you're right. Everyone thinks that British sailing is a rich person's sport, but it doesn't have to be. If you can get the support, and there's the support out there, we know that British Sailing have these mentoring schemes and making sure that people can get in boats. And as we saw with Hannah, where she started in Cardiff, you just go and join your local club. And I think that's the thing with this. We have to not think these sports are just for a certain type of person. We want them to branch out. We want different people to take part. And seeing Stuart win that gold medal and being on top of the podium, I haven't spoken to him since, but I know he'll be over the moon with that.
And the other thing I'd mention about sailing and that perception it is an elite sport, you should check out the Andrew Simpson Foundation. Now, Andrew Simpson was a gold medal winning sailor in 2008 in Beijing and sadly died when his catamaran capsized that he was crewing in training for the America's Cup back in 2013. There's now a foundation in his name which is all about introducing young people into sailing and trying to just get as many people to give it a go. And whether that is give it a go to try and get to the Olympics with it, or whether that's just give it a go because it's a good thing to do and you can go and do it and it's good for your physical and your mental health. Yeah, I'd certainly say if people are listening, Andrew Simpson Foundation, give it a Google. So really good initiative.
Absolutely. Well done all at British Sailing, and good luck in Paris in 3 years' time. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. And as we mentioned in our last pod, Tom Pidcock had done the business for British Cycling, and we wondered whether the track team could maintain their domination, with warnings from performance director Stephen Park that other countries had caught them up. Now, although the team pursuiters in the velodrome failed to retain their golds, overall, British Cycling won 7 medals, 3 golds, 3 silvers, 1 bronze, plus the gold and silver in BMX racing, and the brilliant BMX freestyle gold for Charlotte Worthington, and a bronze for Declan Brooks as well. It would suggest another good games all round for British Cycling. In fact, they won exactly the same number of medals as they did in Rio, 12, but this time it was across 4 disciplines. That's why they've also established a BMX Freestyle Commission, including expertise across the discipline, to guide the national governing body's support of the development of the sport, which has 5 aims, including an Olympic standard park to be built for BMX Freestyle. Once again, British Cycling seems to be leading the way.
Yep, and it's fantastic that they are going to look at the infrastructure and the legacy. And the great thing about British Cycling, we've now become just the 3rd country after France and the Netherlands to win medals in all 4 cycling disciplines. So road, I know there wasn't a road medal this time, but there has been obviously before Chris Froome in the time trial, Bradley Wiggins of course at London 2012. So now got BMX, mountain biking, track and road medals, and as I said, only France and the Netherlands have ever done that before. 2 nations that you would think historically way ahead of Great Britain as far as getting on your bike is concerned. We know about France and their cycling tradition with the Tour de France. We know that the Netherlands is a country that is based around cycling. You only have to go to Amsterdam to see that. You can get knocked off by your bikes, and I think we're pretty latecomers to it. I mean, we've spoken to Chris Boardman before, and the sea change that his 92 gold medal in Barcelona brought about with that technology. And then obviously once the lottery funding came in, Jason Queally winning that first medal in Sydney in 2000, and then everything that happened since. But they knew that we were never going to repeat that dominance of Beijing in the velodrome, and they were so clever in the way they looked at what else was out there, and they provided the support for these people to qualify for these games and to win those medals. And I just think with the likes of Kai White and Bethany Shriver and Charlotte Worthington and Declan Brooks, you've got 4 very assuming young people that people can really look up to and really resonate with. And Kai is the Prince of Peckham, as we've already heard. And, that's where we want to find people to be our Olympic medalists. We want more Princes of Peckham, don't we? And we want people like Kai White and Sky Brown in skateboarding and other ones that people will go, I can do that. That could be something I could go to the Olympics and do. And I just thought it was fantastic. I really thought the new sports energized the games. I really did. And I've been speaking to lots and lots of people about this, and they really have captured the imagination.
It was breathtaking. I think I described Charlotte Worthington, the 360 loop that she did after falling in her first run and doing it then again in her second run in the BMX freestyle. It summed her up. And, again, we had the pleasure of talking to her before a couple of times, and she was just so focused and so determined in a freestyle way, in a kind of, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do my best, and I know that I can land these. But she went and proved it, and I think you're right, that she could be well up there. She could be the next Laura Kenny to inspire another generation of cyclists.
And it's interesting you mentioned Laura Kenny there, because whilst I think we are right to really focus on what our BMXers did, and it was fantastic, and Tom Pidcock in the mountain bike who won a gold as well, the track guys didn't just let it slide, though, this time, did they? And you think back to that very final session of the games, and wow, what a keirin from Jason Kenny.
We've been talking cycling for 5 minutes. We haven't mentioned Jason Kenny, now the greatest Olympian
7
in
golds,
Team GB history.
2 silvers. So he's now escalated. He's gone above Chris Hoy in terms of number of golds, above Bradley Wiggins in terms of total medals won. So he is the greatest British Olympian ever. And he rode that keirin like I've never seen anything before in my life. It was like, this is going to be my last race at the Olympics. I'm just going to go for it.
And I think, a bit like what we talked about last week about the road race, where the peloton let the leaders go and never got it back, I don't think the other riders knew what Jason was doing and thought, well, we'll just leave him be and he'll burn out.
Yeah,
and he didn't.
He didn't, and he got that gold medal. And he hadn't had the best Olympics. I think he would say that himself. He just wasn't quite where he would normally be, and we probably all thought, the legs have gone, he's one step too far for him and all the rest of it, and we probably all thought that and said that. But he certainly put paid to those little doubts, didn't he? And
he certainly did.
Laura in the Madison with Katie Archibald, again, totally and utterly dominant. What was it, they won 10 out of the 12 sprints or something?
Yeah,
absolutely totally dominant.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slingshot event where you have to grasp hands and then they kind of power you forward. And as Michael said, total domination in that on the track. It was the first ever women's Madison in the Olympics. And it gave Katie, as well as Laura becoming the greatest, but it gave Katie her second Olympic title as well.
Something I realised afterwards was it will be the top entry on the Wikipedia page. I love looking at stats, world record evolutions, and the just the record tables in general. Like, I love it, Ghent Velodrome, they've got a list of all of the world record holders and obviously highlights of the Belgian riders, things like this. And we've got pictures all around the Manchester Velodrome of the Olympic winners. And it sounds, I guess, quite vain, but I'm going to have my picture on the Velodrome in Manchester, and we're going to have our names right at the top of the list for women's Madison in the Olympic Games on the internet.
Just very quickly, Michael, Matt Walls, 23-year-old rising star from Oldham, 2 medals, a gold and a silver in the Madison with Ethan Hayter as well. And Jack Carlin, sprint bronze, and also in the team silver as well. So with Jason Kenny, you're sort of saying maybe he's coming to the end. I think he might go to Paris again after this. We don't know. But with Jack Carlin, you've kind of got that next generation coming through.
A lot of people saying to me before the game started, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where the next generation of stars are. I don't really know anyone going into these games. And the thing that I was saying to them is, you will. Yeah. You will know. Just have faith in the programme. British cycling is not going to end with the Kennys. There will be, as Jason was the young buck when Chris Hoy was in his pomp, now Jason Kenny is there at the end, and we've got the likes of Matt Walls and Ethan Hayter and Jack Carlin coming through. And Tom Pidcock could turn up on the track at some point or on the road. We certainly will be talking about him, I think, at some point with multiple medals at the Olympics if he wants to go down that route. I just said, look, you've just got to have faith in British cycling. Just because you don't know those people yet, you haven't heard those names yet, doesn't mean that they're not there and they're not happening.
Quick final word on it. Katie Marchant knocked off in the Kieran, didn't quite do it in the sprint. Look, but these things happen, and what I really liked about her is that she was like, I can go again. I can come back and I can do it again in Paris. She's off to get married now as well, so good luck to her. And I know that Stephen Park has faith that she will come back and deliver as well. She is a medalist from Rio, as we well know as well.
Yeah, and just one thing on Stephen Park. He was tweeting throughout the games, and I just thought that was fantastic as a performance director. And I actually thought the social media stuff that a lot of the athletes were doing during the games was really good. Clearly, no supporters out there, no family and friends out there. That must have been a consideration. But actually, the little insights that we were getting from Stephen Park, really, really good. I thought that was a really good thing to do. I mean, I like following his social media feed anyway, but to kind of get that little bit of inside track, I thought was excellent. So.
Well done, British cycling.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. And well done to GB Boxing as
Wow.
well. I mean, they took 11 boxers, and if the qualification process for boxing had been as it had been at previous games, they probably could have taken a full 13, because there was only really that one qualification tournament to get in this time. We remember they started it in London, got cut, didn't it, as we all went into the first lockdown and the pandemic. They then ended up doing it in France, but normally there would be 2 or 3 more opportunities to qualify, and I think GB Boxing probably would have qualified the full complement of 13 in a normal Olympics. I would imagine they'll qualify the full 13 if things go back to normal for Paris. But the 11 they took to bring back 6 medals, 2 golds, 2 silver, 2 bronze. Absolutely fantastic. If there is a better sports coach or performance director in the country at the minute than Rob McCracken, who leads the GB Boxers, also has had great success with Carl Frott and with Anthony Joshua as well. If there is a better coach in the country at the moment, I would love you to get in touch and tell me who it is.
Do you think he's up there with how we put Sir Clive Woodward?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I think you've got Sir Alf Ramsey, you've got Sir Clive Woodward that have delivered, World Cups in football and in rugby union, and people might start putting people like Gareth Southgate up there at the minute. People will have a certain amount of fondness for Bobby Robson for his achievements. But what Rob McCracken has done in both Olympic boxing and professional boxing, and not just once either. Clive Woodward got it right in 2003.
Yeah, and he took a long time to get there.
Rob McCracken's got it right in 2021, 2016, 2012, and he keeps producing these guys. And it's a unique situation as well, GB Boxing, because what you do with most programs is you'll have the athlete for maybe 2 or 3 cycles. What Rob McCracken does is he gets these boxers up for 1 cycle, they're successful, and he loses them to the professional game. And actually, I think it's testament to the work that they are doing at the gym, at the English Institute of Sport, that actually now that isn't automatic. People actually are carrying on and trying to have another go at it. So I was so pleased for Fraser Clark winning the bronze medal out of all the boxing medals. And it was brilliant to see Lauren Price winning her gold. Fantastic for Gal Al-Yafai, and we'll hear from him in a moment, to win his gold. I thought it was brilliant. Ben Whittaker was one of the stars of the games for me for his interviews and winning his silver.
Yeah.
But the fact that Fraser Clark was nearly on the team in 2012, but then got overlooked for Anthony Joshua, nearly on the team in 2016, overlooked for Joe Joyce, both of which won medals, so it was the right decision. But for him to stay on the programme, because I'm sure he could have gone professional before now, but for him to stay on the programme, stay loyal to Rob McCracken and the team, and to get his hands on that Olympic bronze medal, now he'll probably go pro. And as he said to me when I spoke to him a few days ago, it's probably a year or 2 late for him, but that's what the Olympics did. That's what he wanted to do with the programme. So, really, really good week or 2 weeks work for GB Boxing. And as I said, Gal Al-Yafai was one of those gold medalists, and let's hear from him. I got to speak to him afterwards.
It's what we're in boxing for. In amateur boxing is to be an Olympic champion, and I'm an Olympic champion today, and I'm just over the moon and just so thankful to everyone that supported me.
What was it like to step up onto the podium, see the flag, hear the national anthem?
Oh, it was surreal. It's something that I've dreamt of, and I got to do it. Like I said, it was just surreal, getting on the podium, everyone watching at home, all your friends and your family, everyone's supporting you, and to put a gold run around my neck is just, it was just a brilliant feeling.
And you come from a big boxing family, of course. What's been the reaction from your brothers and the rest of the family?
Oh, as you can imagine, they'll be over the moon. It's not just my win today; it's their win too. I'm just happy that I could bring that gold medal back for them too, and not even just them and myself, for the whole of Great Britain. The amount of people that got behind me. I said it earlier. My brothers are meant to get behind me. They're my brothers, but the people that have got behind me in Great Britain has been, it's been beautiful. It's been great. I just thank every person that got behind me, and I'm just so happy I could repay them and bring that gold medal back.
And GB Boxing as well. We saw your best mate, Fraser Clark, in the crowds. It must have been so important for you to have that support these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's over here now. It's his birthday today. So that was his birthday present for me. He said to me before a few days ago, he said, hopefully you get to the final and you can win it for me. That could be my birthday present. And thankfully, thank God I was able to do that.
Talk us through the fight. Did you always feel in control? You always thought that gold medal was going to be yours? Definitely.
After the first round, going into the fight, I thought this could be a tricky fight, but I was confident I'd win. And I think I showed I won pretty comfortably, even though it was a split decision. I put him down in the first round, and I knew it was just going to go one way from there.
Silver or gold for Lauren tomorrow, but we know it will be 6 medals for GB Boxing. That is a phenomenal return from 11 boxers, isn't it?
Well, first of all, I think she's going to be Olympic champion tomorrow. She's completed it. She's just completed boxing if she is, and I hope that she is, and I think she will too. She's a great fighter, and it just goes to show how good GB Boxing are. Everyone on the team, everyone behind the scenes, the staff. It's just shown in it with 6 medals.
And just finally, what next for you then, both in the short term in terms of celebrating this and longer term in your career?
Short term, I'll eat some rubbish food, relax my family, and just enjoy my downtime. And long term, we'll have to see. Hopefully I'll just have a good future in whatever I choose to do.
Going pro?
Maybe, yeah. That's something I could look to do, yeah.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy your gold medal. Well done.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You mentioned Ben Whittaker earlier. That was Galal Yafai. I just love their Brummie accents. Will he stay for the Commonwealth Games?
In Birmingham? Well, he seemed to suggest that is something that he's got in mind. And the fact that it is next year, I think, obviously would be something that it's easier to stay on for another year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely, though, there are people having conversations with him now. And you heard him being a bit cagey at the end of the interview, and I say, "Are you going to go pro?"
Yes,
it's an option. It's an option. Yeah, I think the opportunity to box at a home games is one that's there. That's obviously something you don't get to do very often. To do it literally in your home city as well would be fantastic. But at the end of the day, he's got to make a decision, hasn't he, about his life, his family. He's got to make some money. He's got to think about his career. It's a short career, boxing. People talk about footballers' careers being short, but a boxer's career can be a lot shorter than that. You know, one fight, and that could be your career over, career ending, couldn't it? So he needs to make a decision there. Yes, there'll be the sentimentality of going on and trying to win a medal in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games. There'll be the practicality of, can I go and make some cash and, go into the pro ranks and capitalise on what he's just achieved.
Coming up, we're going to talk British athletics. We've got Laura Muir and Josh Kerr coming up, and also modern pentathlon as well, history being made there, and we will say some goodbye to some people. But this is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, but we're going to talk very quickly about the Commonwealth Games, because Michael, by mentioning Commonwealth Games there, got me thinking about something, and I don't think this has been brought up anywhere, and it may not happen, but my huge concern, the Rugby League World Cup was cancelled during the Olympics, which was going to be taking place in this country, which we knew UK Sport had brought the funding to make this happen. It was the first time wheelchair rugby was going to be part of it. Women's rugby was going to be part of it as well. But Australia and New Zealand decided that it was unsafe to come to this country. I assume because we have more people vaccinated, and they don't at the moment. And they were very much like, it's unsafe, we're not going to come and be part of the Rugby League World Cup. So the decision was to cancel it, or postpone it, I should say, into next year. And that brings a whole lot of different question marks, because there's a World Cup in Qatar around the same time there where this would have been staged. But it got me thinking about the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, Because if you don't have Australia and New Zealand coming for the Rugby League, are they not potentially not going to come for the Commonwealth Games? Now, my argument to that would be, well, you went to the Olympics, and I don't really understand why you don't come for the Rugby League. As the Olympics proved, you can bubble pretty safely. If you're all out in the bars afterwards and mixing with the fans or whatever, then that is a different thing. But I wonder whether it was slightly political with the Rugby League, and it may not occur to the Commonwealth Games. But is there a potential that Australia and New Zealand don't come? And if that is the case, the Commonwealth Games without those two nations is not the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, you need Australia, New Zealand, you need the home nations, you need Canada there. They are the big nations. There are others, of course, who will win medals during the Games, but I hadn't really thought about it either, to be honest, whether Australia and New Zealand would say they wouldn't. I presumed because they had taken part in the Olympics and they will take part in the Paralympics, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't then send a delegation to Birmingham and take part in the Commonwealth Games in the summer of 2022. You would hope that the passing of time might help. Obviously, we're looking at a Rugby League World Cup, which was going to be in the autumn here, so not that long away. You would hope that by next July that a lot of things may have changed in the world, may have reverted back to how we knew it before, whether vaccination programs in those two countries were a lot further on, whether their case numbers were a lot less than they are at the moment, and whether that then obviously all falls into place to encourage them to come and travel. It's going to be a really, really packed year, 2022, isn't it, for international sport? Because you've got, in the world of athletics, that we're going to speak about in a moment, you've got a Worlds, a Europeans, and a Commonwealth Games, all pretty much back-to-back. You've got the Women's European Football Championships going to be taking place. You've now got the Rugby League World Cup taking place. You've got a World Cup, Men's World Cup at the end of the year. You've got a Winter Olympics and Winter Paralympics in Beijing at the start of the year. It's good for us.
And 3 of those events you mentioned are in this country. So
yeah.
Euros football is in this country, Commonwealth Games in this country, now the Rugby League in this country as well, and not to mention all the other things that we don't talk about on this podcast that happen on a weekly and monthly basis. So I'm concerned that there is that question mark, but as you say, and as I said, I really think if you went to the Olympics, you can't not come to the Commonwealth Games, but we will wait and see and keep our fingers crossed. Now, it is the first game since Atlanta 1996 that British athletics didn't win a gold medal at Tokyo in the Olympics, but 3 silvers and 3 bronze, slightly down on numbers on Rio, but with injuries to Dina Asher-Smith and Katarina Johnson-Thompson, I still wonder, actually, whether they are moving in the right direction. That feeling that they actually have done quite well, despite all the things that I've just said. Keely Hodgkinson started the optimism with a silver from an unfunded teenager. Now, you can argue whether she should have been funded. That's a different argument, but she wasn't. She got her own sponsorship. She literally fought her way to that medal and left Gemma Reekie, who was a huge tip for Great Britain in the women's 800 metres, in an agonising 4th place. And then you saw Laura Muir. She dropped that event to focus on the 1500 to try and get her first major outdoor medal in the women's 1500 metres. And boy, did it pay off, because she again ran superbly for that silver medal ahead of trouble-chasing Safan Hassan, who, of course, by the way, did do the 10 and 5K double, which was an incredible achievement. But let's hear from Laura, and I'll get Michael's views on whether actually this has been quite a good Games for British athletics.
Laura, congratulations. An Olympic medal. It must feel like this has taken a bit of time to get onto this podium at this world outdoor stage, but well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was so relieved, just to finally have done it, and for not just be any global medal, but Olympic medal, for it to be silver is just great. Yeah.
Can you talk us through the race then?
Yeah, I guess it was relatively straightforward in that I had a few kind of race plans in my head, and one of the ones was what happened, so I was prepared for it. And I just had to make sure I made smart moves throughout the race, track the right people, and then just gave it absolutely everything that last sort of 200, 100 metres until I crossed the line. And when I crossed the line, I just couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Because I think people don't realise quite how tactical a 1500 metres race can be. Can you sort of explain a little bit about the various tactics that could take place?
Yeah, well, quite often the 1500 can be run quite slow. So the first couple of laps can be quite slow, and then it speeds up and it ends up more like an 800-meter race. Sometimes someone takes it out from the start, which is what happened last night. Sometimes it'll go off quite fast, then it'll slow down, then it'll speed up again. And then you've got, usually 12 people in a final. We had 13 last night because someone was added to the field, but it's quite a lot of different people that can do different things as well. So there's a lot of different variables there, what can happen. Yeah.
And for you, obviously, we know that there were some 4th and 5th and 6th places before. Do you just have to completely take them out of your mind when you're in that moment in an Olympic final?
Yeah. I mean, like, at the same time, I've learned from them. Past performances, I take things from them and make sure that, okay, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong, this is what I can do better. And then, just going into that race, I was just so focused on coming in that top 3. I managed to get the silver.
And what was it like to join the relay teams at the end for that photograph on a big night for British athletics?
I kind of gate crashed the relay photos, but the girls were like, "Oh, come on!" So I was like, "Okay," but it was so nice, to kind of be able to celebrate, with them, and it wasn't by myself. For my first medal, they were all there, so I was so happy they did all so well as well.
And just finally, then, the career as a vet will presumably have to wait a little bit longer now because you can use this to go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm just sort of leaving things very open, just seeing what opportunities come up, and everything's going really well. So I'm just taking each year at a time, each opportunity at a time. The running's going pretty well so far.
Laura Muir speaking after her silver medal, obviously justifying her decision not to run in the 800 as well as the 1500, and to see 3 British women in the 800 metres final. Actually, I think middle distance running suddenly in this country is looking quite rosy, with Josh Kerr as well, who we'll talk about in the men's 1500, winning the first medal since Seoul and 88 for the men's. Are we moving in the right direction for British athletics? I don't wish to be the party pooper here, but we've always seen athletics medals at major championships go to people like Robbie Grabbars, people like Sophie Hitchen in Rio. Have they then been able to go and repeat that achievement on that global world stage, or have they quietly kind of just disappeared from view and never ever hit those heights again?
Yeah. Those 2 examples.
The answer is the second. They've had their moment. They've won brilliant medals on the best stage possible as an athlete. But could they then use that to take themselves on? That's the difference between them and someone like Greg Rutherford, someone like Jessica Ennis-Hill, who did it time after time after time. They were consistent championship performers. Is Dina Asher-Smith a consistent championship performer? Jury's out. She performed in 2019. She's won a relay medal here. Can she go in Eugene next year at the World Championships and get on the podium in an individual again? Can Laura Muir do that again now? Those would be 2 names that I would think, yes, have got the potential to do it. Josh Kerr, I mean, again, 3 men in that men's 1500 metres final. The fact that they are pushing each other on probably helps a little bit.
And he's, again, a youngster, 23-year-old from Scotland.
Outside the system.
But outside the system, so trains in the States. And again, his drive, because I watched that race and, we mentioned the other 2 men in it, Jake Hayward and Jake Whiteman. Unfortunately, they were never in it. And they've had a good season. Both of them have had good seasons. But with Josh, you could just see him hanging on to the Kenyan, Kipsang, who led him round. And I knew, whether Josh knew himself, we'll hear from him in a moment, I knew he was going to win a medal because you could just tell, and he wasn't that far away from silver. But you're right, I think, to ask those questions. It seems a derogatory term. It's not. Are they the next Robbie Grabbars or Sophie Hitchen, or are they the next
Greg Rutherford, Jessica Ennis?
Yeah. And that from boy, we're not paid to make these decisions. That is the decision that British athletics have to go away and make, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's hear from Josh then, firstly, on that record bronze medal in the men's 1500 metres.
Congratulations to you. Reflect on your achievement for us, if you could.
Yesterday was a big day for me. It's been marked in the calendar for quite a few years, and it was the fastest Olympic 1500 in history. So I'm very happy to come away with a medal, and it's a great stepping stone in my career. And it's not the medal I want at the end of my career, but as of right now, it's a nice little prize along the way.
How important was it to get 3 British men into that final, into that 1500 meters final for the first time since I can't remember?
I think I talk a lot of stuff throughout the year, and saying that we're the hardest team to make, versus US, Australia, Kenya, whoever you want to say in the 1500. And I was very happy that we were the only country that was able to put 3 men in the final. So it means I can talk for another year at least, and back the British boys. So it was great. We've got Jake Hayward, his first major senior vest. He handled himself unbelievably well this week, to get himself into the final. Whiteman's just a phenomenal athlete and making finals again. And so if we keep putting ourselves in these positions, we're going to keep picking up medals. So it's a pretty inspiring time to be a British 1500 meter runner.
Were you aware that it was 1988, long before you were born, that Britain last won a medal in the 1500 meters? Does that sort of weight of history sit with you at all?
No, I think for me, it's just I knew I'd have to run a really fast time as well, and I was just focusing on making sure that every step of the way was as perfect as I can make it. And I haven't even been able to watch it back yet, so I need to critique it a little bit. But my coach said it was all right, so but it's going to be a fun one to watch back, and hopefully we can continue that and continue to get medals as the major championships come in the following years.
Coach says it was all right. What did you think of your race?
That's the thing, is you don't know until you analyze. I think I ran it pretty well. My coach told me to be in the top 5 at 400, and the first thing he texted me saying you were 11th at 400, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's not great, but it's that's just part of instinct in racing, and I really enjoyed it out there. I think I wasn't looking at the clock, and I was racing the guys ahead of me, and that's always a fun time.
A lot of the build up to these games was a focus on Dina Asher-Smith, Katarina Johnson-Thompson, Adam Jamili. Unfortunately, injuries took all 3 of them out in their individual competitions. So how important was it then that yourself, Keely Hodgkinson, Holly Bradshaw, Laura Muir stepped up and won those individual medals? That's
the thing is, when you've got one day and 5 years to define, your sport and your cycle, it's tough. It's a lot of pressure, and especially if all the media is looking at you. And for me, I didn't have that pressure. I came in, no one expected me to medal, and it's a whole different ballgame when you've got all the media looking at you and saying that the sport's looking at you to medal. So it's we have a great crop of young athletes and some great seniors as well. So it's just about who turns up on the day, and that's a really hard thing to do, and that's why it's so exciting to watch.
So just finally then, the media will be looking at you now. They will be focusing on you. You will be one of those medal hopes as we move forward. Are you ready to deliver that now?
I think so. I feel like I've got a championship mindset, and that's the way I want to hold my career is win medals for Team GB, and that's something I've always wanted to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a bit more pressure, to be honest.
Peter Elliott in 1988 was the first time we won a medal, the last time we won a medal in the middle distance, the men's 1500 metres.
Yeah, and he followed obviously hot on the heels of the kind of Co-Cram Yvette era.
McLean.
And 1988, you had to go back, and I was saying to Josh, like, that's way before you were even born.
Wasn't he born in 1999?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
So
my goodness.
So he doesn't even remember the games of Sydney. Probably doesn't have memories of the games of Athens.
No.
So it's a great positive that there was 3 British men in that final. Did British athletics take too many people again to the games? We have this.
I mean, look, Andrew Pozzi didn't deliver again in the 100 hurdles, nor did Tiffany Porter or Cindy Sember.
Adam Jamili injured again for Adam.
Zarnell Hughes, he got disqualified for a false start in the British Championships. He then did the same thing in the Olympic final.
Won a relay medal. So, they will point again to the sprint relays, picking up a couple of medals there. Good good in terms of the medal tally. It wasn't quite we normally would say 7 to 9.
Yeah.
That would be the kind of target, but they take this sort of team of 80 odd people. I mean, and I know that the conditions for the marathon weren't ideal for runners from these shores, but just to see so many dropouts in the men's marathon, and again, just, really difficult conditions for the women's marathon as well, the race walks. You just sometimes think when you're selecting these teams, do we need to fill every spot in the team? Should they not do what British Swimming have done over recent times, which is take a bit more of a focused cohort? So British Swimming took about 30 in the end, didn't they? They named 22 originally and added a few. I do just sometimes wonder whether British Athletics just try and spread things a bit too thinly, and therefore they're missing a couple that are working quite happily outside the system, and maybe there should be a bit more focus on trying to give them some support if they want it, if they need it.
Yeah.
And whether actually we need to take so many people in so many events when realistically they haven't got medal hopes. And as I'm saying that, I'm feeling for guys like Scott Lincoln in the shot put, who I know really well from York, and I'm embarrassed now by what I've said in the thought that he might be listening to this, because for him getting to the Olympics is a monumental achievement, and we shouldn't take away from that. But realistically, he was not going to reach the Olympic final.
And I think the question mark then becomes, who's funding it? So if an athlete can get themselves to the Olympics because they are working through their system...
Like Scott, he's working for his dad on a building site.
Yeah.
Great.
Keely Hodgkinson, who's being funded by a millionaire who wanted to support her, and he has done other athletes. I wonder whether that is the question really moving forward, because funding in this country, we know it's the lottery, but it's not all the lottery. It does cut, some of it comes from the Treasury as well, so taxpayers' money. And if you are a British taxpayer, are you happy that all that money is being spent? We had this whole debate with rowing as well. Is that the right way of doing it? Or should, as you say, we focus on up-and-coming young talent, and then the big names, like Norway do with Karsten Warholm and Inga Britson? They're gold medal winners, and they're backed all the way. Do we do that? But then there is this middle ground where, for some people, this is their life. But we have to get to the point where, do they have to work out a way? If that is their dream, they have to work out a way of doing it themselves, rather than it being funded by the government.
Yeah, there are other ways of funding athletes. London Marathon fund a group of athletes, don't they, that run at distances as well, and personal sponsorships and things come in. It's such a difficult thing to try and work out what is right, because you don't want to deny Josh Kerr the chance to go to the Olympics. I don't want to deny Scott Lincoln the chance to go to the Olympics. But I do then see some of these names turn up for the games and major championships time after time after time and not deliver anything. And I just wonder whether those are the people maybe that are just a little bit too fat on the programme, if that makes sense. The programme's just a little bit too fat for me.
Yeah, it's such a big question, and British athletics have changed a lot in the last few years with a new chief exec, and I think there are huge questions about funding this cycle and whether they will have to take a bit of a hit, and whether then there are some athletes who will want to carry on to Paris, but they might have to do it a different way. And we will, look, if you ask any member of the public in this country whether they enjoyed the Olympics, they will say yes. We loved waking up in the morning, turning on the telly, turning on the radio, hearing Michael on TalkSport tell us that we'd won gold medals here, there, and this, and medals here, and bronze here, and fourth place here, and oh, what a disappointment it was for that athlete. So it's not about not supporting them. We will support them, and we will want them to be successful, but we have to look at whether throughout all of this, it's the right way of doing it, and who are we supporting, and making sure that we're picking the right people.
Let's talk about another sport now, a sport that delivered 2 out of 2. in terms of gold medals. Modern pentathlon.
You're an expert on this, aren't you?
Captured the imagination. Of course, it was first brought into the Games by Pierre de Coubertin,
yes,
who was the founder of the modern Olympics. The idea behind it was to test the skills that a soldier might find in battle. So that is why there is fencing.
Right.
Then there is a show jumping round, which you get given basically a random horse. I mean, they're not quite random horses. They are sort of trained. They don't just pick 30 horses from a local stable. They're not wild horses. So you have fencing, then you have the show jumping, you have swimming, and then they have what they now call the laser run, which is a run and shoot combined. Now, in the past, modern pentathlon at the Games has always been staged at sort of different venues. So like the run is a cross-country run with a shoot, and then you would go and do like an indoor swim. And what they did in Tokyo for the first time was they put it all into one stadium. So they had everything in the one stadium.
So they built a swimming pool?
So they had a swimming pool. It looked like something out of Heidi High. Honestly, it was because it's only a 25-metre swimming pool for the modern pentathlon. It's not a full-size 50-metre Olympic pool. So they had a swimming pool at one end.
Wow.
So they had the track, which was an 800-metre track for the run. So you did however many laps of that, and then obviously stop at your shoot thing. They had the cross-country bit in one half. So essentially it was like, if you imagine Wembley Stadium, they sectioned it off into sort of 4 or 5 bits. And I spoke to Joe Chung and Kate French, who both won gold medals for Great Britain, and they said it was fantastic to have it all in the one arena. It would have been brilliant, of course, with fans.
Yes.
And also the fact it's pretty much a one-day competition, because you do some fencing qualification on the first day, but then you come back and do most of it on the second day. So the fencing is like a winner stays on, which is just like brilliant. That's just like playground fencing, the way we used to like have 3 and in or whatever you used to call it. So it's a really good spectator sport, and it's all sort of done in 5 hours. So you have it's relentless.
And to be fair, the governing body have now said that they want to maintain this kind of way of doing it and making it more appealing for Paris.
Yeah, because in the past it would be, you'd see the swimming bit, which would be in an indoor swimming arena, and then obviously
you get bussed somewhere.
You'd get bussed to the next place, and you'd lose a bit of interest in it. But they were pretty much straight out the equestrian, straight into the running and the shooting. It was really good to watch, and obviously from our point of view, it was great because there was 2 gold medals, and you know, credit to Joe Chung, first male to win a medal in modern pentathlon since it came into the Games for Great Britain. The women, it only came in 2000 in Sydney, and they've won medals every time. So Georgina Harlan, for example, who was part of the delegation, deputy chef de mission for Team GB, she's a modern pentathlon medalist in the past. But 2016 was the first time the women hadn't won a medal since 2000. They'd had great medal success. So to be back on top of the world, if you like, Kate French, really good achievement.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier that I've got GB women back on track after missing out in Rio. We've got such great history in the sport, so yeah, I'm so pleased that we're back on top.
So talk us through the day. How did it unfold then, from your point of view?
I was really quite disappointed with my fencing, to be honest. I was hoping to get a better start than I did on the Thursday, so I knew on Friday I had to come out fighting, and I got off to a really good start because I swam a PB in the swim. So it kind of gave me confidence going forward, and I rode a clear round. So going into the last event in 5th, I knew if I stuck to my plan and stayed focused, I had a good chance of getting a medal anyway. I wasn't kind of going into it going for gold. I just wanted to stick to my plan and aim to do the best I could, basically.
Can I ask you about the show jumping? Because for you it seemed to go well, but for some others it is a challenging event, isn't it? Because as we know, you don't get a lot of time with the horses beforehand.
No, of course. We only get 20 minutes before to get to know the horse, and only 5 practice jumps. So it can be really, really tough to get to know the horse that quickly. And sometimes you don't always click with the horse straight away. So it is really, really tough, and I was lucky that I got on well with my horse, and we had my riding instructor out there who's an absolute expert with anything horses and knows how to get the best out of me as well. So she was an amazing help as well.
well done to Kate French. She is British. Kate, you get me. You know where I'm going with that. The first country to have a male and female gold medalist as well. So more history being rewritten by Team GB.
We talked about history all the way through the games. It just became a theme. It was the best boxing team ever. It was the best swimming team since 1908. Hannah Mills was the most successful female sailor. Laura Kenny was the first British cyclist, the first British athlete to win a gold medal at 3 successive games. There were so many pieces of history in these games, right across all the sports. We kept saying it. You know, we called the hockey team history makers in 2016. You could just call this Team GB team history makers in 2021. There were so many pieces of history. It was just brilliant to get up in the morning, like you say, and sit up in the night and watch it all.
And as always, there are goodbyes in games. Johnny Brownlee?
Yeah.
He's finished on a high. You've been predicting this since the moment they brought in the mixed relay. You had it written in the stars that Johnny would win his gold medal.
Yeah, well, I just thought and looked at how great British triathlon is and the triathletes are in this country. We knew that Alex Yee was a potential Olympic medalist. We knew that before he did the win in Leeds at the World Series. So I know a few people are a bit surprised because they have been so fixated on the Brownlees.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier with British cycling, you've got to trust the process and trust the organisation. That we were fixated on the Brownlees because those were the two that most of us had heard about. But behind them, these young 20-year-olds from Crystal Palace were coming through, and you know they will have known the data and the times and the performances. So Alex Yee was for me always going to be a real strong medal hope. And then obviously we knew the strength in depth with the women as well, you know, and that's not something that's new. You go back to Non Stanford was a world champion, but not even there this time in the TV studio. Jodie Stimpson, another one who's, you know, been right up there on top of the world, not even a look in this time. Vicky Holland, who won the bronze in Rio, just this time part of the team didn't even get into the mixed relay because Jess Learmonth and Georgia Taylor-Brown have come from nowhere. So yes, always thought that Johnny would finally end up, as he said, Olympics completed it, mate. Bronze in 2012, silver in 2016, gold in 2021.
So he's done. Another Yorkshireman, the greatest Olympian for Yorkshire still, Ed Clancy?
Ed Clancy, yeah, 3 golds and a bronze. Everyone forgets the bronze that he won in I think it was the Omnium in London. He was obviously part of the Team Pursuit.
Team Pursuit, yeah. It was a
the
sad
gold.
way for him to finish, having got effectively a back injury.
Yeah, I know, but what a measure of the man that he put the team aim ahead of his own, because he probably could have pumped himself full of painkillers, had some injections and gone again. But he knew that the team were not going to win a medal. Ultimately, they didn't win a medal anyway, but he knew the team would win a medal with him riding. So, yeah, sad way for him to end, but a measure of the man to do it at that point. And when I first saw it, that he'd obviously stepped down and retired, I was like, well, if they subsequently win a medal, because he'd ridden in the qualifier, would he be eligible for a medal? And I never actually got a definitive answer. I put the question to Team GB and the IOC, and the response I got back was, that's an excellent question. We'll need to find out for you. But you think that he would, because if you look at swimming, the swimmers that swam in the heats didn't get their podium moment, but they did get a medal subsequently. And again, with the relay in the athletics, the people that run in the heats get a medal. Again, they don't get the podium moment. So had Great Britain gone on and won a medal, you'd have thought then Ed Clancy would have picked up another one. But for Ed, he now goes away and concentrates on the Clancy Briggs Cycling Academy, based up in Yorkshire, of course. And again, he's using what he's achieved to try and get more people out on their bikes. And the Clancy Briggs Cycling Academy is not about finding another Ed Clancy necessarily. It's just about getting kids out there cycling, and it goes right back to what we were saying about BMX and what we've said about skateboarding and trampolining and all these sports that are really accessible to do.
The Paralympics is to come, but effectively it's goodbye to Tokyo from an Olympic point of view. Do you think they are sitting there really relieved that they got through it?
Yeah, I think there's probably a tremendous amount of relief, but there'll also be a tremendous amount of hard work going on to try and get the Paralympics away in a similar shape and form and a similar level of success. I don't think there were the interruptions or the stories around COVID at the Olympics that I perhaps thought there might be. And we always said once the sport started that things would change. There were obviously a couple of stories around like pole vaulting and things. Kendrick's pulling out there, we know. And
one of the Greece was a handball team. Virtually the whole team had to
pull out. We knew that there would be a few things like that, but on the whole, it didn't wreck the program in the way that we thought it might. And
there wasn't a gold medalist who was denied their moment because they'd qualified as fastest and then got a COVID test and they couldn't compete. It was, like we were saying earlier, that bubble really did seem to work. And I think they did take it, the athletes took it that seriously.
Yeah, I do think, and hopefully the Paralympians will have learned a little bit. And we know we've been speaking to some Para-GB members this week ahead of their games saying they've been in constant dialogue with their Olympic counterparts for the warm-up, as they put it. And they are learning things, most of all about Wi-Fi speed, as we understand. But
very good Wi-Fi in Tokyo.
Very good Wi-Fi in some of the satellite villages. I think I would just like to sort of finish by just saying I think Team GB did a tremendous organisational job again. We know that they are an organisation that leave no stone unturned, and for Mark England and his team there, backed up by Georgie Harland and everyone else, all the other support staff, they put on a brilliant education programme for the athletes. So the athletes knew when they arrived what they were getting into, what it meant and how important it was to stick to the rules. The level of detail in terms of them having their own building in the village so they could have a bubble within the bubble. And then obviously with the satellite villages, so the cyclists were off in their own little place, and maintaining all of that and keeping all of those protocols going. Just hats off to them. And then, of course, a brilliant medal return as well.
Absolutely. And they all still managed to have their pictures in front of the rings, which is the most important thing to do at any Olympic Games.
It's the one thing I've missed.
You should have asked someone to take a picture without anyone there, and then you could have superimposed yourself. What did one of your daughters call you working for Tokyo?
I was at the fake Olympics.
Fake Tokyo.
Fake Tokyo.
It was actually London. You can, of course, get in touch anytime at Anything But F on Twitter or message us on Insta, on Facebook. We're on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. Or you can email anythingbutfooty@gmail.com. Tokyo was always going to be different. A year later than planned, it certainly delivered, and Team GB gave us more medals than any of us probably and them dreamed of. Some sports have work to do, but that's why we love it. If it was predictable, why on earth would we watch it? And we watched it in our millions around the world. Well done, Tokyo. Good luck for the Paralympics. And hello, Paris.
Social Podcast Network. With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.